Welcome to A Hunter's Pursuit, for those who are chasing more than just game. Join us on the journey of Western big game hunting, Eastern whitetail, and the pursuit of the good life. Whether you're a seasoned hunter, a first-time dad, or someone who goes to the woods for solitude, this is your campfire. So pull up a seat. The pursuit begins here.
Welcome to another episode of A Hunter's Pursuit. Today we're talking to my good friend Josh Sanders. Josh, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Hey, actually remind me, are you North Dakota or South Dakota?
I am South Dakota. We are in the Rapid City area. Yep. So what they call it West River. You're west of the Missouri River. So they're like this huge region where you're West River, but then more specifically the Black Hills. So
Okay. I forget. I know it was Dakota, but I forgot. So appreciate the reminder. So today, this is actually something that I don't know a lot about what we're going to talk about, which is actually why I'm really excited to ask you some questions, because very, very short backstory. You and I mean, we literally grew up 10 minutes from each other. I mean, we grew up hunting whitetail, and that's what we grew up knowing. That's what, that's still my favorite thing. I don't know about you, but I would rather hunt whitetail in the October woods any day than elk or mule deer, which I love all that stuff, but I'd rather hunt whitetail. I don't know how you feel, but
right.
So,
well, I mean, having not quite branched out into all the Western hunting yet, whitetail is really the only big game that I've gone after so far, but I'm definitely working on starting to, get points built up for pronghorn and for elk and for all this stuff out here too. So
yeah, actually remind me, are you up to 2 or 3 points now? I can't remember how long it's been.
I think 2 points in Wyoming, and I've got to work on all the stuff here in South Dakota too to start putting in for that. I put in for a pronghorn tag and didn't get it, so I'm hoping that there's a process where that builds points too, but I'm not, like I said, terribly familiar with their whole thing here yet. So
Yep. Preference points. If you're listening, you're not into preference points yet, you got to figure that out. That's the only way you're going to be able to hunt out west. I mean, you can get very, very low preference points hunts, or as we've said before, if you have if you're a guy with money, you can pay an outfitter, 10, 15 grand to take you somewhere. But if you want to do public land, you got to have preference points. So that's something to dive into.
Yeah. And let me just add this. I'm not that guy that has 10 or 15 grand to pay an outfitter. So.
No, I'm not that guy either, which is why I do public land and BLM land and such, which we'll get into BLM land in just a second. So tell me, going from, you're obviously a whitetail guy, and for those that are listening and have not done this yet, going from, Eastern whitetail hunting to going out west for anything is different on so many levels. I mean, the terrain and, back me up on this, going from a place where, hey, you've got your own land or, someone's private land, and now it's going to be all public land. It's a whole different thing. It's just, and I don't know, actually I'll ask this question. Did you use, let me back up first. Tell us what because you're pretty much doing whitetail, but it's in the wide open plains, which most people are not used to that. When I think wide open plains, I'm thinking pronghorn, a little bit of mule deer. So I can't even, you sent me that picture. I was like, I would never think of whitetail here, but I guess that's kind of the transition. If you're thinking of, the States, kind of going west, it's kind of that mid-level of, now tell me, is there muleys and antelope out there too? Are they all live together? Okay, so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the area that I drew, it's hunting unit 15A, West River deer here in South Dakota. It's Butte County.
Okay.
And it is, a lot of wide open prairie, and you touched on it, but coming from Michigan, totally different game. I felt so lost. So the first morning, my season actually opened November 15th, which was a cool thing because Michigan's is November 15th every year. You had like that emotional tie to November 15th.
It is a state holiday, November 15th.
Yeah. So I had to work the 15th and the 16th, Saturday and Sunday. So Monday was my first day hunting. So I scouted the BLM lands because I put in for the reason I chose that 15A unit is because it had so much BLM land, and the private landowners here do something called a walk-in program.
Okay.
So they put their lands up and say, anybody can come hunt on these grasslands, but you can't drive. You park and you walk in. And I'm talking, there are plots thousands and thousands of acres and you can't drive. So
That's
it
the
adds a little
thing.
challenge. Yeah.
For sure, and those for those listening, that is we have it's funny, it's a buzzword. A walk-in is a buzzword. As soon as you said that, I said we have done so many walk-in areas out west because, like you just said, there's times where it's like, hey, we can get back to this, 500,000 acres if we're willing to walk 2 miles
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
someone's private land. And once again, no two tracks, no side by
Yep.
sides, no, and a lot of times those are honey holes because people are not willing to do that. They just want to sit in the truck and they want to glass for a mile,
Glass.
which
Yep.
which is fine. That's a technique. That's one way of doing it. A lot of guys have success that way. But as soon as you said walk-in area, I was like, yep, I know exactly
Yep.
what that is. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So anyway, I picked this place, like the Belfouche River runs across this particular unit. And me being the Michigan boy that's like, I need to look for farmland and woods and water. I mean, that's what
I gotta find
that's
some
what I
trees
know.
here. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I know you'll back me up on this too. You literally are looking for, in Michigan, we were sitting hardwoods, we were hunting the edge of cornfields, you were hunting a swamp, and
Yep.
all of a sudden you're like, I'm staring at 5,000 acres of grass and I can see 5 miles in every direction and there are no trees.
Exactly.
It,
Yep.
it it's different. So my
It
first
is.
morning, I chose this plot where it's near where I've actually gone and shot prairie dogs for fun.
Okay.
So it's this BLM unit, and I looked on Onyx and I found a high spot, basically. Like the terrain shows that it's a high spot. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go look at this high spot and I'm just going to glass and just look for deer making their move to go bed or whatever. So it ended up being kind of a dud. And you asked me about different species that I saw. When I pulled into the field, I actually saw 2 mule does. So there were mule deer there.
Okay.
And so I sat on top of this hill, basically 50, 60 feet above everything around me. And I just glassed and scoped and I didn't see any other deer. Well, on the way back to my car, I walked through some ravines and gullies and I was seeing deer beds in the bottom of these. And it kind of got my brain going. I was like, wait a second. Okay. That would make sense that these deer would be bedding down in these ravines in the tall grass.
I was just going to say before you get too far into the actual story of how it happened is one of the biggest mindset shifts is okay, Michigan, or whether it's Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, west or eastern whitetail hunting. I mean, the game is you sit and you wait for the action to come to you, and of course,
Right.
if you're in if you're edge of a cornfield or a swamp, you kind of have this hope in your mind of like, okay, deer could be 100 yards away, I just can't see them,
Right.
So going out west, especially the first couple years we were there, you can sit on a high spot in glass and you think, oh, I just can't see a deer, so they're not there. But I'm assuming that you're learning. Let's say you're sitting on top of a high spot. If you move 100 yards left or right, it's like, oh, there's a gully. There is a,
Right.
some kind of hill or, oh, that's a hole. You can't even see it. And especially it's amplified when the sun's coming up or going down. It's like, oh, all these shadows or all these different, So I'm assuming you kind of had a feeling of like, oh, there's no hope, no deer, can't see nothing. And as you kind of go along, you learn like, oh, there's more here to glass than I originally thought. So.
Yep. So I definitely was. I was feeling a little discouraged because I sat up there for a couple hours, and it was beautiful. I mean, it really was.
Sure.
I got to see a beautiful sunrise, and it actually rained on me a little bit, and there was a beautiful rainbow. I got all these pictures I might send you, but I was enjoying myself. It was a good time. So just getting outside, anybody that hunts knows, you're outside, you're wearing an orange vest, and you're holding your favorite rifle. It's a good time. So.
Hold on. Sidebar. Tell us what you're holding because it's one of my favorite things. So tell everybody what you're holding.
Yeah. So I bought I'm going to go way back here. I think it was 1996. I think I was 14, 15 years old. I bought a Remington Model 721. Now this is before 700s. So this is Remington's bolt action from the 1950s. I looked up the serial number one time.
Oh.
And I believe it said it was manufactured between 54 and 57 or something like that.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful, wooden stock, blue barrel. It's a good old, what I call a Michigan deer gun. I've owned that gun since I was I think 15.
When you showed me the picture, I said, "Oh, classic gun." Right now, I can feel how smooth the action probably is on that gun.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's just I gotta find one of these.
It's one of those things when you hold it, it's part of you, So I've killed a lot of whitetail with that gun. So my 30-06.
Nice.
And so I started, like I said, I came off this hill and I started walking back to the car, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm gonna walk kind of through this. I'm going to follow this gully here because I kept seeing spots where deer had bedded.
Okay.
And
What's the weather like? What is it? What time of the day is it? What's the weather like? Temperature? What are we talking?
So yeah, at that point I left that spot. It was probably about, I'm going to guess like 9:30 a.m. maybe.
Okay.
So on the way back to the car, I never saw anything, but it got the wheels turning in my mind. And I was like, okay, obviously, tall grass is one thing, but these gullies, that's where they're going to probably seek their cover.
Oh, yeah.
So I pulled up my Onyx again, which, by the way, you're not sponsored by Onyx, but I'm telling you what, Onyx is amazing. I wish everybody could get a hold of Onyx. It is awesome.
I just made a note. I actually wrote it down. I said we need to talk more about Onyx because those that don't haven't Western hunted yet. Sometimes you can only learn things by doing it yourself. Other times it's like, hey, I wish somebody would have told me this.
Right.
But dude,
right.
You cannot go out west without Onyx because it's everything from boundaries to roads, private land, public land. Because Sonny, my older brother, shout out to Sonny if you're listening. We count on Sonny as the Onyx pro. It's just what he does. He's the guy that's constantly got it on his phone. He's looking at maps. He's looking at, okay, we can hunt, 100 yards that way and 3 miles that way, and here's the line, all this.
Yeah.
And it's a necessary thing of Western hunting.
It's a tool, man.
It does. It gets a little bit, you kind of get sick of it once in a while, but you gotta have it. So I'm actually glad you said that because I preach it to a lot of people, and I like to hear you say that. So
yeah, and one little side thing too on that, you can actually, if you're hunting an area, you can download an area offline. So if you lose cell signal out here in the vast Western Plains, you can actually access maps offline too. So that's kind of cool.
100%. So anyway, very good point.
Yeah, I started thinking about which plot I was going to try next because I've gone through and just basically aerial scouted some of these BLM plots and found out where I could access them and this and that. So I pulled one up and I found it wasn't very big. It was 120 acres, kind of a tiny little BLM spot right in the middle of tons of private land.
Okay.
And there was a creek that had split off the Belfouche River and it looked like nice. Again, that Michigan part of me was still looking for farmland and trees. And I thought, okay, so if there's farm crops right here and water right here, then this BLM spot could potentially be good for bedding. Because I saw there was tons of these gullies and runoffs. And so I drove over there and I pulled into the little access spot where people park. And there were literally 4 gut piles laying there. So I said, man, somebody shot some deer out here.
Okay. So, that gives you a little hope right there.
Yeah, yeah. So I literally I grabbed my rifle, and this is really stupid of me. I didn't even bring my backpack. My backpack had all my gear in it. I literally threw 4 shells in my gun, and I said, I'm just going to take a walk. To see what happens here.
I have to pause right there, and anyone who's done Western hunting is going to agree with me on this. One of the biggest cardinal sins of Western hunting is saying, I won't need my backpack or extra shells. It's like, take your backpack and your extra shells everywhere.
your extra shells, your knife, all your stuff, whatever's in there, you need it. Just bring the backpack.
I used to watch a lot of videos out west, and I think people are really overdoing it with all these 60-pound backpacks they're carrying around.
No,
and I said, they're doing it for show. It's like no. Like when you're Western hunting, everything you need for survival and rain gear and camera gear and all this stuff, and just the basics of hunting without any of that. It's just like, I get it now, so I don't make fun of anybody anymore.
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely. So I took off walking. And I found this really deep spot. It looks like when it rains hard, this is where water like runs or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's in the bottom of these little ravines. And I start walking. And I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like this. And it might sound kind of weird.
Okay.
But I almost had like that sixth sense, like there's a deer in here. Yep. Like bedded in this, like you just know it. Because this is a perfect spot for deer. And that thought had no more than crossed my mind. And a small buck jumps up like 50 yards ahead of me and takes off. And I was like, no way. He was not a trophy. He wasn't, and I'm not even a trophy hunter, but he was a buck that I probably was going to pass on just from what I saw running away.
And I was like, okay. And especially if you see it, you know how bigger deer always look on the hoof running away. If you look small, that's so good call on, not throwing lead at that one.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so there is deer here and my hunch has paid off. They are bedding in these gullies.
All right. Here, let me stop you real quick because I want to highlight something. Part of Western hunting again is, like I said, the first couple times I went out there, I always had this Michigan mindset of like, hey, I need to think like a Michigan deer, right? I need to, but here's the thing: when you're out there on the prairie with, I always wonder, hey, why do pronghorn just, they're out in the middle of nowhere, just standing there? It's because this is their home; they have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
To me, it was wild, like because you could, I mean, there's times I have personally shot at an antelope, missed it, and it just trots off 50 yards and you shoot at it again. It's like he's got nowhere to go. He's got nowhere to hide necessarily.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was kind of picturing you saying, hey, I need to think like a deer that lives here and not in a cornfield where, it can just run and hide, whatever. So it's, once again, all this different mindset way of thinking of Western hunting is kind of just reminding me of how that works.
Yeah.
So,
and it is a big mind shift, like you've said. So I kept walking. And I came to a barbed wire fence that cut across. It's still BLM land, but there's a barbed wire fence there because people run their cattle out there and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So I walked the fence and I started seeing just tons and tons of tracks. And I'm going, man, there's a lot of deer out here. And I was walking this fence and I turned and looked to my right. As I was coming down, there was a gully that ran along where I couldn't see down it until I took a few more steps. And when I stepped and came around this hill, this buck is laying there 50 yards away, and I could tell there were several does bedded there. I mean, it was one of those instances where I was like, oh man, there's a deer, and so he jumped up and
so they immediately saw you. There was no, they saw you right.
He saw me right away, but he was bedded with does, and you know how those running bucks are. He was like, hey, I want to run, but I'm with this doe. So he stood up really, really slowly and just looked at me. And I shouldered the gun and I almost got a shot at that point, but he took off and several other does took off. And what was funny is I was so honed in on him, there ended up being about 10 deer that jumped up in various places around there. There were other bucks. I honestly don't even know how big they were. I mean, I saw antlers. They weren't huge, but I was like, man, there's a pile of bucks down here, And so he disappeared around the end of a little draw. And I knew he was going to come up out of it by the way he was running. So I knelt down and I rested my hand on the top barbed wire strand and put my gun, rested on my hand there. And he stopped and looked back. And I looked through my scope. Of course, it's sprinkling. I got raindrops on my glasses. I got weather covers on my scope, but I flipped them obviously.
Okay.
Well, in that 10 seconds, I've got raindrops on my scope and the gun's bouncing on the bar. So I'm going, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity. I'm thinking all this stuff in my head. So he's standing there broadside, and it ended up being about 125 yards. And I put the crosshairs where I felt good and squeezed, and he dropped.
Oh, man.
So, the rest of the deer took off, and I racked another shell, and I'm watching him. And, of course, he's going through his death struggle,
Yep.
And I didn't really see, and this is, like I said, not being a trophy hunter, this is the biggest whitetail I've ever shot. It's a beautiful.
Oh, dude, it's a beautiful buck.
Yeah. It's about 20-inch inside spread. It's got some character to it with a little kicker tine and a Fort G2. So I ended up kind of I knelt down so the deer couldn't see me. So I didn't want to have him get up and keep running.
Oh, for sure.
And so I gave it a few minutes. I, safely crossed the fence, just like they teach you in hunter safety,
Yeah.
And I got over there and he was still doing a little twitching about 3 or 4 minutes after the shot. So I was like, okay. So I just got down below the ridge line.
Yep.
Gave him a few more minutes, and then I peeked up again. I was watching him through the scope to make sure his sides weren't moving. He wasn't breathing. Ended up circling around, coming up behind him, and was, ready for another shot in case I had to. But yeah, he was done.
Sure.
And it was one of those things, walking up on him and seeing those antlers sticking up out of the grass. I was like, oh man, he's actually a little nicer than I thought he was.
Oh, dude, good for you. I mean, everybody knows the horrible, ground shrinkage. Oh no, what have I done?
This was actually ground growth, so that was good. So
I'm just picturing the story. Here's the thing, man, and you know this about me. Every hunt we go on, I try to video everything, and in some hunts, as you're telling me this, I'm just playing it in my mind. I mean, the rain and the deer kind of running. You're up against the fence. I'm just picturing all of it. I'm like, oh, dude, this is such a classic Western hunting tale,
Yeah, and it's awesome to hunt with family and friends and to share like a recovery. But I got to tell you, there's something pretty cool about being by yourself too, out in the middle of a wide open prairie and just standing there and having that moment, by yourself too.
You know what, dude? I have never had a moment like that yet. Not
Yeah.
in the in the prairie. I mean, obviously this is something, and I don't mean to take away from your moment at all, but I'm saying I understand this because every single time we go out west, we have it's kind of like you obviously well, there's usually four of us, and we'll kind of sit on the same hillside and glass, same directions, kind of move around a little bit. But there's once in a while, it's just like I'm just gonna go over here, 100 yards by myself, and sometimes you don't even glass necessarily. It's like I just want to take this in and with just me,
Yep.
and it's kind of getting off the rails a little bit into more of the emotional side of hunting. But it's like
Right.
I just want to enjoy this skyline for a second. And once again,
Yep.
people that don't hunt don't get it. But I'm feeling what you're saying 100%. I mean, putting an animal on the ground, like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy this for me for a minute. Like
Yeah.
that is super cool. I'm so glad you said that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you have that moment where there's a little bit of reverence, just for it's kind of an awesome thing. You
Yep.
don't take it lightly. We're not just out slaughtering things, but
Nope.
you're like,
Nope.
you got an opportunity to take this animal. And,
Yep.
everybody comes from all walks of life, but, you and I know this especially, we come from the walk of life, where we thank God for what we just harvested, and
Yep.
so you kind of have that moment where it's like, man, you just have that like, wow, this is awesome. What a beautiful animal, what a great privilege. And like, oh, thank you, God, this is great. And then you just kind of stand there and soak it in, so that was
Yeah.
kind of fun too.
That is
And
cool.
then I got to tell you, a
Okay.
dramatic shift in emotions here. I suddenly realized I was 900 yards from my car, and there's a barbed wire fence, and I have to get this. And we're not talking about just a flat grass field. We're talking this is rough terrain. It is deep gullies and steep hills, and
Listen.
all of a sudden I go, Onyx is about to come into the picture again.
Right.
So
Every hunter
Yeah.
is experiencing what we're feeling or saying right now. It's like oh man, this is amazing. And it's like, oh wait, now the hard work starts.
Yes. I actually told my wife that. I texted her and said, the hard work starts after you pull the trigger.
Dude, I kid you not. When I shot my elk a couple years ago, I mean, because here's the thing. I mean, people that had never been up on an elk before, and once again, my bull elk was a small bull. I mean, he wasn't a massive bull at all.
But they're still big.
No, dude, they're about 3 or 4 times the size of a deer. I mean,
yeah.
they're just massive. So it's really funny. I shot my elk, and when I shot him, he literally ran toward the direction of our truck. And he
Perfect.
ended up dying like 200 yards from like our a big truck. I was just kind of like, well, I mean, and that was enough. That was enough work.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get the pain and the agony you're talking about.
So I stood there and enjoyed my moment, and all of a sudden I was like, oh boy, this is going to be rough on a 43-year-old man. So again, Onyx, I noticed when I crossed the fence, there was a little ATV 2-track. And I pulled up my Onyx, and next to me is private land. This guy owned like 5,000 acres.
Sure.
And I saw the name, because you click on the plot and it gives you the name of who owns it.
Yes, it does.
And I was like, oh, look at this. And there's his house. Like literally there's a house, and it's the same name on that plot of land. And I was like, okay. So I followed that 2-track, and it cut across his land, but it came out right by his house.
Okay.
So I literally left the deer, walked 900 yards back to my car, got in, drove down to this guy's house about a half mile, walked up, knocked on the door. I mean, it's like, I'm needing a little help here. Not that I wanted him to help me. I wanted to access his land so I could get to my deer. So I knocked on the door. About an 80-year-old man comes to the door. I said, hey, sir, how you doing? I got a deer down on the BLM land right out here, and I saw your 2-track, and I was hoping I could just drive your 2-track to get him, because it would make my life a lot easier. And he kind of hemmed and hawed, and, well, I don't normally let people drive out there. And I pulled my Onyx right up, and I said, I understand. I'll show you. Here's the deer. Here, I marked it with a waypoint. I said,
I was just going to ask if you marked the waypoint, and because every time we go anywhere, Sonny always tracks our path and everything.
Yep.
And you can kind of look at the end of the day, like, hey, I just walked 6 miles today or whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah. So after I showed him that, it was like the light bulb went off. He was like, oh yeah, okay. And he said, you just don't drive across the prairie. Don't just go, stay on the trail. And I said, yes, sir. And I shook his hand. I said, sir, you've made my life so much easier today, and I really appreciate it. And he kind of chuckled. And I said, thank you. I appreciate it. So I was able to drive this little 2-track right across his old pasture land, and literally was 100 and maybe 25 yards from my deer. So instead of 900 yards. And another thing, I brought my old jet sled from Michigan you ever seen the jet sleds?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So mostly people use it for ice fishing, but I have to tell you, a deer glides pretty good. When you throw a deer in one of those, you can drag it and it glides pretty good. So
hey, that's not a bad idea.
I brought it with me. I gutted the deer. I threw him in the jet sled, and it was even enough of a struggle getting him that 125 yards to the car.
Oh,
even
sure.
in the jet sled.
You got to say, there's nothing. That's
yeah.
awesome. Every time I've seen this on Instagram many times. It's like nothing will tell you that you have to get to the gym than dragging your dead deer by yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, I gotta get in shape.
And I got to tell you this too. Like I was feeling a little cocky because I did something I've never done in my life for this past summer. I ran a half marathon.
Oh, that's right.
That is way out of the realm for what my normal is. So I was like, yeah, I think I'm all right. I've been keeping up on the running and running a few miles a week here and there. Oh yeah, you lay a hold of a deer and start dragging it, and you're humble instantly.
I mean, in your defense, once again, this is a big buck. He's probably dead wet too. I mean, so that's a struggle, man. I mean, don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to point something out real quick, and this is a lesson for everyone that's listening is ever going to do this. Dude, the way you approach that farmer and that landowner is the absolute best thing you can do, man. I mean, meaning the way you did that, because people don't realize most BLM land is land that people own, that they say, hey, I will allow people to hunt out here. This is my backyard. This is my cow pasture. This is my, hey, I own this, but I will let people hunt here. So, and you know this, people ruin everything. You can have 19 really good, solid guys, hunters that are nice and respectful and don't leave junk on hunting land and all this. And then one guy can, drive on somebody's property or run over a fence or do something that the guy goes, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not letting people hunt my property anymore, So I'm just saying the way that you did that, like that is a vote for like, hey, there's good hunters out there and good guys that are respectful. And I'm glad he knocked on my door and asked permission. So, I mean, I want to highlight that. I mean, that's praise to you for doing that, because that's how I would want hunters to be represented. Hunting's like, especially, me being from, Michigan or Tennessee, it's like, hey, this is not my state. I'm coming here. Right. This is a gift and a joy to come here. So I just want to ramble on that for a second, because I'm glad you did it that way. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I got to go back to just the way I was raised, and I'm thankful for that. You just be respectful of other people's land. Don't cross fences unless you ask, because if it was your land, you wouldn't want somebody doing it to you, kind of a thing. So
100%, 100%.
For sure. Yeah. For everybody that's listening, just don't be that guy. Just, be the good guys. Give us a good name,
Exactly.
Yeah. So I got him up to the car, and I drive a Honda Pilot. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm manly. I don't even have a truck, but I have one of those little hitch haul things,
Yeah.
So I hoisted him up in there and strapped him down, and it felt really good once I got him home and hung him up. You're like, okay, now all that hard work is done.
Right.
But yeah, it was awesome, and to be able to say, my very first day I ever went whitetail hunting out west, I was able to get the best buck of my life. So
that is awesome, dude. Like, this is gonna sound cheesy, but that's a blessing from the Lord. I really do mean that, and I think that, because here's the thing, and this is getting off in the weeds a little bit, but you know what it was like as a teenager. You could hunt all the time. You hunted 100 times, But dude, as grown men, as people with jobs and husbands and fathers, it's like, hey, Lord, I've got 3 days of hunting this year. Yep. It's like I'd really like a chance to shoot something while I'm out here, Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I think the Lord blesses people that way. I really do, because we just. Anyway, that's a side note there. But
but it's funny you mentioned that, because I had 3 days off work. So I'm off on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I was like, okay, I've got 3 days to hunt.
Yep.
And I actually told my wife later on, I said, because it was like on Wednesday morning, it was just beautiful. And I said, I was actually really thankful that I shot a deer first thing and got it on the first day.
Yep.
But I'm also a little disappointed that I'm not still out there, because it's a beautiful day. But I still do have a doe tag, so I can still go back out there.
Oh, there you go. No, dude, I know you're feeling, because when I went to Michigan a few weeks ago and shot my buck, I got there.
By the way, it was awesome. That was a beautiful buck.
Thank you. That was a good hunt. I have to do a little episode about that, because I had an absolute blast on that weekend. But same thing, I got there. I took the whole week off. I got to town on a Friday night, and I hunted Friday night. I shot my buck the very next day. I shot my buck on Saturday morning. And
Nice.
so I had the whole next week that I had taken off because, hey, you never know how hunting is going to go,
Right.
obviously. But dude, I kid you not, probably the same thing like you just kind of said is after I shot my buck, I still went hunting. Like I could shoot another deer, but and Seth and Sonny were there, of course. But dude, I enjoyed the woods so much more
Yeah.
because it's like the pressure was off. Like I'm just gonna sit back and have a
Yep.
and just watch the leaves change, and it's just like, oh,
Yep.
it was refreshing for the soul
Yeah.
after I shot my deer, you know?
Yeah. I have to tell you, you mentioned the leaves. When
Yeah.
I saw your picture, because you posted pictures,
Yep.
when you got there. Oh man, that tugged on my Michigan heart, seeing all those colorful leaves in the cornfields.
Dude,
And
there's
I could
nothing
smell
like it,
I
dude.
could smell those pictures, and I was like, man, I sure do miss Michigan right now.
Yep.
So
And every hunter has his ideal hunt in his mind, and that morning was I mean almost picture perfect because it was calm, it was a little frosty. I mean because it was I think November 1st or November 2nd, the leaves were still, just perfect. I was like, this is exactly what I came to town for and took a week off for.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been better for me. But
yeah, there
so
you go, another one of those blessings from the Lord, man. There you go.
it was. Let me ask you this. So let's say someone is not an out west hunter, they've never done it. Just what was your maybe a biggest takeaway from just the mindset change? I mean, we talked about Onyx a little bit. Just kind of give me a summary of like, hey, whether it's hey, I would do this or don't do this, or hey, you got to start applying for preference points or whatever. Just kind of your biggest takeaway from the hunt overall as a kind of you're a Michigan whitetail hunter originally, but Western hunting in general, from what you've accomplished and seen so far, what's your takeaway? I guess is my question.
So I would say, especially if you're coming out here having never hunted in this terrain and this environment before, you got to be willing, and you can speak to this. You got to be willing to be flexible and adapt to something you're not used to. Yep. And thankfully nowadays we have YouTube and all this stuff, so you can you can watch videos of other people hunting out west. They can give you pointers and this and that.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was kind of hard to like switch my brain, because I went and looked at a different plot that was that Bellfouche River I was talking about runs right through this plot of, it's private land, but they have it on what's called a certified hunter access program. So you can pull up and fill out a little card, drop it in the box and go hunt. And it was a beautiful spot of private land with a river, and it actually had some trees. So I was like, see, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. But I talked to the local, out here they call him game fish and park officer, conservation officer.
Yeah.
And he said, that spot's usually really crowded and a lot of people hunt there. And I went and I looked, and I could see down in that box when I went there to scout, and there was tons of cards in there.
Okay.
So I knew that was going to be a high pressure spot. I did find a whitetail antler shed out there, so that was pretty cool. There's a lot of tracks, but so think outside the box. It was kind of hard to do that because I've never ever hunted anything other than that Michigan environment. So just be flexible, be willing to think outside the box. Definitely do a little research, and if you can pull it off, get the Onyx app. It'll help like so much. And I would just say do your homework. And
that makes a lot of sense. There's been several years where we've been able to, especially the first couple years we were out there, is we came to town a couple days before the season even opened. Just being able to kind of set your eyes on the land and how it works, and hey, you got to go through this gate, and we got to drive across town to get to this piece of BLM land and this, because there's sometimes you get to a piece of land, it's like, oh, there's 7 trucks here. Oh, okay, well that was my plan for this morning. I'm glad I have a plan B kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's here's the thing. Anything in life that's worth it is tough. Anything in life, like you just said, there's so much homework that you can do by watching other people, talking to other people. I mean, holy cow, man, the amount of podcasts for Western hunting, it's all out there. So it's one of those things that, like you just said, you do your homework, and I think you just have to, you don't throw away everything you know about deer. I mean, you don't do that, but it's like, this is different. I have to think different. I have to, it's almost like I think I meant to say it, but I didn't say it, is with you, it's like if I just sit here, nothing's going to happen. I have to go move and have to go pursue, and like this is not sitting in a tree all day long. That's not Western hunting. That does not exist here. So anyway,
it's really funny you mentioned that, because as I was sitting up there on that knoll and just soaking it in, enjoying the view, whatever, this is cool, I actually had that exact thought. I can't just sit here because nothing's happening. I'm going to have to go make something happen, and I'm going to have to, So it's funny you mentioned that, because I had that exact thought, like, okay, it's time to get up and make something happen. So, yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, for your first whitetail hunt and first kind of Western hunt, I mean, that's absolutely awesome. I mean, it really couldn't have gone better. I mean, and I'll have to put a picture of the buck on Instagram and just kind of show a bit of what we're talking about. But like, dude, I'm serious. Like, congratulations to you. Welcome to the Western Hunting Club, so to speak. And I really do mean. I know we've talked about pronghorn hunting, and I would love to go on a hunt with you sometime out there. And I don't know how non-residents work out there in the Dakotas, but I'm sure I would imagine it's similar to Colorado and Wyoming and such.
I will say that from the pronghorn areas I looked at when I put in for mine, they're a little stingy with the non-resident tags. Most areas they only give away 3 to 4 tags for most areas for non-resident.
I would imagine. I mean, I don't think no disrespect to the Dakotas, but I think you got to go a little bit further west. I think, and of course tags are plentiful out there. But,
well, hey, the nice thing is I am only a half an hour from the Wyoming border, so we're gonna make it happen, man. We're gonna go to Wyoming and we're gonna kill pronghorn. So
I love. If nothing else, I got to come out for some prairie dog hunting with you. If nothing else, we got to do that, because that is an absolute blast.
There's something to be said for whitetail, and like I said, I still can't wait to dive into elk and mule deer and pronghorn. But
sure,
I will say I've hunted prairie dog. I say hunt. You shoot prairie dogs, don't really hunt them, but I've done that 3 years in a row now with friends from Michigan. And the one thing we always come back to and say, this may be the most fun you can have with a gun. It is so much fun. And of course you're with your buddies, you're laughing, you're talking. You don't have to be quiet. You don't hide.
No.
You set up a shooting bench and you shoot anywhere from 150 to, the guys I shoot with are way better than me.
Yeah.
They were shooting out and getting kills 600-700 plus yards a few times. I've killed a few at 550 somewhere in there, but you're laughing, you're joking, you're having a great time. You're eating your lunch out there on the prairie, and it is so much fun. And testing your accuracy. It's fun.
We've only done it. We've only done that once. I think it was Wyoming. We did that after we shot our deer and we had an extra day, and it was kind of that funny thing where it's like, is this legal? Because this is hilarious.
It's like whack-a-mole with a gun in your hand.
It is, because it's like you said, you're just lying there. You got a Mountain Dew in your hand. Like, hey, you shot 2 foot high. It's like, okay, you try again. It's like, oh, nailed him.
Yep. And that's the nice thing. I have a suppressor for I have a 5.56, like an AR-15 platform that I shoot. And it's suppressed. And so you get out beyond about 300 yards and they don't even know what's going on. You'll hit right next to them and they'll look around like, what was that? And
for sure.
You can kind of walk your shot in sometimes if you need to, but it's a blast.
Yeah. Let's put that on the books, because it's been too long since I've done that, but
absolutely.
Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. Dude, well, like I said, welcome to the club. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. You're in the club now. But that is our episode for this week on A Hunter's Pursuit, and we will see you next time.